What's going on, guys and girls? It's Ghost Robo, and we are rolling through another big title from E3 that I got to play, and that is Far Cry 5. Now, they pulled capture at the last minute because the game, I guess, was not 100% ready to have direct feed recorded, so we're just using some gameplay from the different shows and whatnot throughout the week. But I did get to play it. I played through the mission you're seeing here twice, and I got to use two different helper characters, two different guns for hire, and a dog for hire, a beast for hire here. I got to use Boomer the dog, and I also got to use Grace the sniper, who you'll see towards the end of this video. It was the same mission, capturing, liberating this little town here, and then I got to go run and help Nick Rye, who is the pilot, and that sort of wrapped up the demo. But the main focus was on taking this new outpost, because in general Far Cry, even though they've drastically changed the setting, retains a very similar gameplay style and feel. And as you probably know, this one is very, very edgy, because it centers around this cult, right? This doomsday cult, and their sort of treatment of the people of Montana. They are ruthless, they are brutal, they are capturing, they are beating, they are sacrificing people for their cult and for their doomsday apocalypse that is they think is right around the corner. Here with the dog, you can send him out to help take down targets, and he's much more of a stealth helper, which I really liked, because even though Grace seemed like a stealth helper as the sniper, her shots were loud and made everything go crazy. And I feel like this combat variety is what is kind of being used in place of environmental variety. When I first saw Far Cry 5, I went to the reveal event, and my big concern was like, what are they going to do to distinguish this Montana environment from every other open world game or from every other shooter, you know, in the same way that Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4 had really distinct and awesome environments. They utilized jungle, and they utilized mountain range, and they utilized, you know, mythology, and they utilized all sorts of kind of very elements that are foreign to us, and they found a way to make that captivating and exciting, and use those as set pieces to try and really drive forward the campaigns of 3 and 4. And so when you have a more basic Montana setting, something that is grounded in modern day America, how do you keep that fresh? And I feel like Guns for Hire is kind of one of the ways that they're going to try and keep things exciting, because you can mix these up, you can take them, and in theory they help the missions, and they help sort of the outpost captures feel different and feel unique. And as you can see, even within this liberation, we're using a mounted gun, we're using our own pistol, we're utilizing the dog and giving him orders, we're blowing up vehicles, so it has that very Far Cry sort of improvisational feel to it. But I will say that I felt that the helpers were not entirely necessary. Now, this was a demo, it was for E3, it could have been tweaked to be easier than the final game, and the full game doesn't come out until February 28th, 2018, so they have time. But I felt like it was entirely doable without the helpers, and in some cases, like with Grace, I felt like I was better off without her, because her sniper fire alerted the enemies to my presence and kind of ruined my more methodical strategy of taking things out. And yeah, this dog is helpful, but I totally could have just shot that guy right there, right? Like, that was totally doable without the dog. Now, another element that they've introduced are melee weapons. There's a much bigger focus on that here, and you can come in and beat people. I don't know, like, I feel like the game is incredibly violent and incredibly intense, and maybe that's where it's going to set itself apart. Even more so than mechanically, is with the story. Unfortunately, the demo that I played, the demo that you're seeing, did not have a whole lot of story elements in it whatsoever. You got a little sense of sort of the town here as you liberate it. You know, they're opening up the Spread Eagle, which is the bar, and they are kind of revitalizing this sector of Falls End here, which is cool. And now you're going to see the same demo, but with Nick Rye, who is aerial support. And again, you want to go on like different levels of overkill. The dog is helping you stealthily and take down individual targets. Grace the sniper helps you not stealthily take down individual targets, and then Nick just bombs things, which is very over the top. But okay, so beyond what you're seeing here, the rest of the demo that I got to play, you picked up a big rig and drove it over to a more, even more rural area, and you got to go to Nick's airplane hangar in the forest. And I also got to fish, caught some fish, which again, you know, really cements the fact that this game is going to have a lot of side tasks and things that you've come to expect from Far Cry, from Ubisoft in general. But it was interesting to drive through the streets of this world as opposed to, you know, the streets of Ghost Recon Wildlands or the streets of Far Cry 3 or the streets of Far Cry 4, because again, I just felt like it was a little flat, it was a little plain, and I wasn't, and obviously it's just like one area, but how are they going to build on that? And I guess that's my concern, right? Far Cry has a good gameplay loop, right? This combat, sort of this sandbox, come across a village, come across a settlement, come across an outpost, and capture / liberate it. That is a fun loop, right? And sort of their 30 seconds of fun is well made and well documented, but what do you do to keep it from getting monotonous, right? Like, once we see Nick Rye do that bombing run once, I mean, how many guns for hire are there? Are there 5? Are there 20? I think that is going to factor in heavily, because if there are a bunch, my goodness, that person's not a very good shot. If there are a bunch, you know, it could be interesting to keep mixing them up, almost like, you know, like a multiplayer game style where you're trying out different classes, but in this case they are supporting you rather than you playing as them. And I think that could be interesting, and just finding ways, you know, who is utilized best in different scenarios and how do they work out well. But if there's only a couple of them, I could see it getting really rote and really old fast. And I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but I walked away from Far Cry 5 wanting more. And I think that Assassin's Creed Origins impressed me a lot, in that it made a big environmental and situational change, and Egypt felt very fresh and very fun, and something that I was like just desperate to explore more. And like, man, I'm circling October 27th on my calendar because I want to see what else that world holds. But when I played this, I didn't feel that as much. Now, here is a part that I really did like. This church here tells a lot of story, or it shows a lot of story, right? It shows, it doesn't tell, and I like that. You know, if they can find ways to incorporate some of those more, you know, either BioShock or like almost like a Arkham Asylum style storytelling where it's done visually, as opposed to all through these father speeches and these church sermons, that could be really cool. If the buildings are generic, you know, I'm not a big fan. But also in my demo, and it's not unfortunately shown in the video, but also in my demo I got to go inside of the Spread Eagle bar, and there was a lot of detail in the interior, and I feel like that's something they definitely have improved upon for Far Cry 5. So, you know, if maybe the variety takes a backseat to this more sturdy storytelling and this more in-depth environmental exploration, that could be really cool. You know, and they still give you the gameplay freedom, the gameplay variety that you've come to expect, but maybe now they flip the script, and instead of it being about, you know, this very like awe-inspiring and unique locale, maybe it's more about really diving into this specifically designed place. And I think once we get the full game and get to see how the story, the plot, the characters, and sort of the mainline missions have an impact on the player, that's going to be really interesting. And I'm hoping that they're able to find ways to take this great idea, this very, you know, gray area idea, this controversial idea of this doomsday cult, and implement it in something that feels naturally exciting and not forced, right? So you want the mystery to be because of really good characters and because of a really deep and unsettling plot. You don't want it to be, you know, exhilarating just because they do like crazy things on screen and they show you these twisted killings. Like that's easy. That's doable in any sort of militaristic video game. But if they really want to evolve and make Far Cry 5 sort of the next step in this series, they need more stuff like this. This bus here that tells a story. I love this kind of stuff. It's what made BioShock Infinite with its Americana up in Colombia so exciting. And if they can do something similar in Far Cry 5, I'm all on board. Like I said, the guns for hire seem a bit overkill right now. Maybe later on they become more pertinent. Or maybe there's a bunch of them, and so it just becomes a way for you to mess around and kind of, like I said, almost like a class system that you get to choose as you approach encounters. But I'm curious to know you guys' thoughts on Far Cry 5, because I feel like I came away a mixed bag. I'm hopeful if they can dive deeper into the areas I didn't see, and I'm slightly concerned about the areas I did see. But I will keep my fingers crossed. There's still a solid 8 months till this game is out, and I think that they could be onto something big. So let me know your take in the comments down below. Curious to hear what you feel after watching these few different videos, and we will wrap it up with the trailer here from E3. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys had a fantastic day and a fantastic week. I love you all so much, and until next time, drink so much salt. Thanks again, and we will see you all later.